Okay, y'all, it is officially December, and we need to know, what is your number one Christmas song? I'll start. Santa Tell Me by Ariana Grande.
Me too.
You just needed to be reminded.
Yes,
That's all it was.
And Snow in California, because I would always think about that on my mission.
Wait, that's
by
so
her.
I don't
tender.
think I even know that one.
It's by her, same album.
Well, there's only one Ariana song that I
Well,
need.
guess what? Her Christmas albums go crazy. That's the truth.
Okay, we'll listen.
So Grace and I went to Denver this past weekend, and we were staying with this dude, and this dude introduced this song to me that I think is going to be my new favorite Christmas song. It's called Christmas in Hollis.
Oh. It has your name.
By
That's
Run
all you
DMC.
need.
No,
Wow.
look it up on your Spotify, Apple
It's
Music.
good.
It's actually jazzy.
Is it actually a
It's
good song? Or is
Yeah,
it just to set your name?
No, it's
It kinda
actually
hits.
Because
good.
that's kind of cool that it says your name, though.
No, it's fire.
Yeah.
You need to listen to it. I'll have a blue.
Oh, DJ said, I'll just sing it for you.
Christmas without you.
That's actually your number one?
No, but I like that.
That's top five.
I
That's
love
top
that one
five.
too. I love that one too. Welcome to This is Kingdom, a Good News Brand podcast. This is Grace.
This is Talon.
This is TJ.
And this is Hollis.
And this week, we're talking about God's Favorite by Elder Karl D. Hirst.
My mission, I left for my mission in 2018, and my mission was going to end April 2020. And I went to California, and probably immediately when I said April 2020, you had some thoughts of what was happening in April 2020. My entire mission, my mission president would talk about last transfer miracles. And he's like, you get ready because the last 6 weeks of your mission are going to be the most miraculous, the most special, the most sacred, more beautiful, miraculous things than you could ever dream up will happen the last 6 weeks. And all my entire mission, I was like, I cannot wait. I am going to work so hard for my entire mission so that last 6 weeks can be the most miraculous 6 weeks of my entire life. And I worked and I worked and I worked. And week one of my last 6 weeks was crazy. And we were meeting all these people and we were knocking all these doors. And then Saturday of my first week of my last 6 weeks, we started hearing about COVID and we started hearing about this sickness and maybe people weren't going to answer their doors anymore and people were wearing masks. And I was like, nah, no way. I was like, not my last 6 weeks. Not the last 6 weeks that I've been looking forward to for the 17 months leading up to this. There's no way. And then all of a sudden, there was a way, and no one was opening their doors. We weren't leaving our doors. We were wearing masks. We were going to the grocery store. And the first night that we couldn't go outside anymore, I just remember getting down on my knees and being like, God, you promised me the most miraculous 6 weeks of my entire life. And now you are giving me the worst 5 I could have ever imagined. This is the worst time to be a missionary. This is the worst situation ever. There's nothing I hated on a mission more than not working. And I said, this doesn't make sense that this is my last 5 weeks. That's rude. God, that's rude of you. Then I woke up to a call. And it was a surprise transfer call because everything was switching. Lots of people were going home because of sickness, all this sort of things. And I got transferred out of Spanish work, which I was a Spanish missionary. I never had to do English work. And that was my pride and joy. And I got transferred to English work and I thought, this is it. Yeah, of course. I was like, of course, the last 6 weeks of my mission are going to be the worst when they were promised to be the best. And then they kept going. And my companion became one of my favorite companions I'd ever known, one of my favorite people that I had ever known. And the days were better than I could have ever imagined. And the miracles were still happening. They just looked way different than I had ever imagined. And we would go on walks every single day and we would talk about how we were the luckiest people in the whole entire world. That it all worked out that we could meet each other and we could be having our mission like this. And my last week there, I woke up one day and I looked at my companion and I said, I must be God's favorite kid, that this is my life. And she's like, no one else on earth is thinking that. And I'm like, I know, but it must be true because look at what God's done for me. Not just the last 6 weeks, but the last 18 months, my entire life. I must be God's favorite kid. And I got home from my mission and I got in the car ride home with my family and it was packed tight and everyone was there. And everyone was like, tell me what you learned on your mission. And I started saying things. And then I said to my whole family, I was like, I'm God's favorite kid. And everyone in my family was mad. They're like, you can't say that. You can't claim that you're God's favorite. And I was like, well, I am. So I don't know what to tell you because I am God's favorite kid. So sorry. And you don't really expect to fight with your family on the day you come home from your mission, but I did because I was passionate about it. And that's when I realized, I was like, you know what? We all get to claim that. Nephi did, highly favored of God. John did. He said he was loved by Jesus. That's what his title was. I'm like, okay, John, you got it.
Don't we love that that's a self-given title?
Yes.
Like, that's what I
Yes. And this is why. Because why shouldn't we be God's favorite? And why shouldn't we wake up every single day and look around and say, I must be God's favorite because look at what he has done for me today. And I believe with my whole entire heart that God looks down at each one of his kids and he says, I know what will make you feel like my favorite today. And I will go out of my way to make sure you feel it. And I think that's the coolest part about God is that we can all look up and say, God, I must be your favorite kid because he is showing us such tender, intimate, specific, personalized love every single day.
It's so good. And I have not been able to stop thinking of this experience that I had this summer. When I was prepping for my HXP trip, I was prepping to lead a youth trip. And before I met any of the youth on my trip, I started praying for every single one of them. And then I would meet one and I was like, holy cow, this kid is my favorite. And then I would meet another kid and I was like, this kid is my favorite. And then another and then another. And it happened with every kid. And I didn't think much of it until several nights into the trip. I guess all the girls had been talking and they had realized that I told every single one of them that they were my favorite. And they were like, you lied to us. You told us you said it to every single one of us. And they said, who's really your favorite? And I'd look at one, I'd say, you're my favorite. And then I'd look at another one, I'd say, you're my favorite. And then I'd look at another one, I'd say, you're my favorite. And the thing is, I was not lying. Grace knows I do not believe in lying. I believe in saying what I mean and meaning what I say. I genuinely felt like every single one of them was my favorite. And I could say different reasons that every one of them was my favorite. And I feel like God in that moment, he let me experience a little bit of how he felt. I was not lying. I meant it. They were my favorite for different and unique reasons. And I feel like God was telling me, now you got a glimpse of how I feel. I could go through every single kid and say, oh, they're my favorite because of this and this and this. And oh, they're actually my favorite because of this and this and this. And it was the coolest thing for me to feel just a little bit of what God feels.
Can I tell y'all why I think I'm God's favorite sometimes? I just gotta. Before my mission, guys.
He's about to debate Grace right now.
I'm his favorite, Grace. Sorry. Before my mission, my family and I went to Thailand, all right? And while we were in Thailand, we were at church, and I remember getting on the airplane to come back home and realize I forgot my scriptures in Thailand. And I'm like, I have no idea when I'm gonna go back to Thailand. This is crazy. And a couple months later, I get my mission call, and I get called to Thailand. And in my first area in Thailand, I get called to the area where I lost my scriptures. And on that first Sunday, someone comes up to me, hands me my scriptures, and said, hey, I think you forgot something. And I was like, are you kidding me? 6 months later into my mission, I'm in a bus, all right, in Bangkok, Thailand. It is insane, like one of the craziest cities in the world. And while I'm in Bangkok, I have this journal where I keep everything, all my mission notes, all my mission stories, everything I learned from life, and I hold it so sacred to me. And I remember I was in that journal, I was riding on the bus, and I get off of the bus. And when I get off the bus, me and my companion, I look back and realize I forgot my journal on the bus. And the bus is already a mile away from me. And I'm like, I just lost my journal. Which
if you don't know Hollis, his journal is a very big deal. Everybody likes his journal, but Hollis loves his journal.
I cried. And I'm like, why did I lose my journal? A month later, at a zone conference thing, I get there and this guy comes up to me and he's holding my journal. And I'm like, how the freak do you have my journal? And he's like, I was at the bus station one day and this bus was passing and this random lady on the bus yelled out Falang, which means like foreigner in Thai, and chucks a book at me. And I think it was because I was wearing a missionary tag or something, but chucks the book at me. I was like, what the heck is this? Open the page and it was your name in it. And I was like, how does this lady have his journal? And he gave it to me. I'm like, what in the world? And some of those experiences just reminded me when something's your favorite, you treat it differently. And I feel like when you treat yourself as God's favorite and you treat others like God's favorite, it opens your eyes, your mind, and most importantly, your heart to what God views you as. It gives you a glimpse of who God sees you as. And those experiences just transform the way not only I saw myself, but the way God saw me.
I love hearing these stories. I'm like thinking of one, but I'm like debating on if I should share it or not. I haven't really shared it a lot in different ways, but I
I'm
don't know.
so
I feel like I
intrigued
should share it.
now.
When I first got out to my mission, my mission, it was so cute. My mission president had kind of done his homework, and I think he did it with all his missionaries. And so I sat down in our first interview, and I'm all kind of scared and excited, new missionary, and he tells me, he's like, he's like, "Hey, elder, like, look, I know that this, this is how many touchdowns you got your senior year. I mean, this is what you placed in
That's so
your
sick you knew
yards."
that.
Yeah, I was like, "What? That's crazy." And he just points these things out about me, and he's like, "I know you're Samoan," and then he got really emotional, and he told me there's some Samoan areas in this mission, and he just started tearing up, and he was like, "You're gonna be able to get back to your roots and connect with your people and your culture and things like that." And the first few months of my mission were crazy because I was building faith like I never had before. I read the Book of Mormon for the first time, was really connecting with God for the first time. But it really built my courage. And I realized that there were things from my past that I needed to go and work through with my mission president and to bring to God, things that I hadn't really handled. And so I worked with my mission president on it, and it was really scary. And I did feel God's love, and I felt his presence and his forgiveness as I was working with my mission president. But I also, in that moment, I'm thinking back, it was really hard to feel like I was God's favorite because I felt like I wasn't where I was supposed to be. And I was ashamed for my past and things like that. And it was really, really hard to feel like I was God's favorite. And where I was at in my mission, and my mission president talked to me, and he told me, and he said, this is going to be your next area. And he sent me to the Samoan ward. And he sent me to the Samoan ward, this place where I had met families that became my family, and literal family, cousins and family that were there in that area because my grandparents had lived there. I had all these experiences connecting with the ward and connecting with the people and connecting with my roots and with my culture and feeling God's love so strongly. And I can't help but look back, and I love to think that, there was times when I felt like I wasn't God's favorite. But also in that moment, I felt like I was God's favorite because I saw his hand and just changing me and leading my path and leading my journey. And so I don't really know why I wanted to share that, but I guess I just want to say out there, maybe if there's someone out there you feel like you're not God's favorite, maybe you're not fighting to say that you're God's favorite because of some things that you've done or where you're at in life or where you're at with your relationship with God, but you got to let the movie play, man, like my boy Talon says, and keep moving forward, and you're going to figure things out.
I think most of the time when I think about being God's favorite, I think about what he's done for me. And I think about lucky pennies on the ground and fireworks, and maybe Hollis thinks about finding scriptures in a journal in the middle of Thailand. And maybe you have some moments that you stop and you think, oh, that's a moment that I felt like I was God's favorite when I got transferred into a different ward, or when I met that one person, or when God showed up in that miraculous way. And that does make us feel like God's favorite. But something about me is I have a really hard time believing that I'm lovable. Just like that is something that I'm really trying to work on, is genuinely believing that I can be loved. And something that I just can't get out of my head ever since Talon started talking is realizing that you're God's favorite also means realizing that God has favorite things about you. And that there are specific and individual things about you that God says, oh, that makes you my very favorite. And when he looks at Talon, I think he probably says, oh, Talon, your dedication makes me, that makes you my very favorite. The passion that you have and the commitment that you have to me, that makes you my very favorite. And I think he probably looks at Hollis, and I think he says, oh my goodness, Hollis, the way that you are so intentional about how you see the world and experiencing different things and looking and feeling empathy towards everyone you talk to, that makes you my favorite, Hollis. And I think he probably looks at TJ and says, TJ, your dedication to giving your life to me and working for me, no matter what you've gone through, no matter what your past is, looking forward and saying, I'm giving you my life, God. He says, I'm sure that he looks down and says, TJ, you are my favorite for that. And I know without a doubt in my mind that whoever you are and wherever you are, God is in heaven looking down, and he probably just wants to grab your little tiny face in his hands and say, oh, you're my favorite. And let me tell you why. And let me show you that you are my favorite.
I am a child of God, and he has sent me here, has given an earthly home with parents kind and dear. Lead me, guide me, walk beside me, help me find the way. Teach me all that I must do to live with him someday.
See you next week.